Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Across its staggering 17 millennia, the Galactic Confederation had elevated bureaucratic ineptitude to an art form, a feat that would astound even the most jaded Earth politician. Astonishingly, this confederation was a melting pot of 47 distinct species, each adding their unique brand of administrative chaos, crafting a symphony of breathtaking inefficiency that ignored cultural differences. Consider their current dilemma. The Zentali had unearthed what their deep space archaeologists cautiously labeled an anomalous installation on a desolate world within the Kepler void. Standard protocol called for a full scientific survey, armored by a military contingent and enough equipment to fuel a minor war. Regrettably, the preceding 3 expeditions had simply disappeared, leaving behind only silent, drifting vessels, expensive monuments to failure. This presented a thorny problem. Investigation was crucial, yet volunteers were conspicuously absent for what felt like an elaborate death wish. The Vreks argued their exoskeletons were ill-suited for the planet's atmosphere. The Zelani declared their crystalline essence too precious to endanger. The Threnody invoked religious taboos against visiting worlds of the dead. Even the usually gung-ho Korfak military suddenly suffered a pandemic of strategic scheduling conflicts. Then came humanity, the galaxy's fresh-faced and frankly most disposable species. Humans, only a century into their Confederation membership, had arrived in their endearingly quaint chemical rockets, like children barging into a quantum physics seminar with crayons. Most species viewed them as an amusing oddity, bipedal mammals who had blundered into faster-than-light travel through sheer luck, stubborn will, and a disturbing habit of attaching explosives to anything remotely capable of flight. From a bureaucratic view, humanity's beauty was their utter lack of inherent value. They had no irreplaceable technology, no irreplaceable biology, and a baffling tendency to leap at dangerous missions with an eagerness normally reserved for vacations. More importantly, they seemed to view heroic sacrifice as a cultural badge of honor, resolving awkward accountability concerns. Therefore, when the Zentali Research Council required a volunteer to probe this enigmatic installation, the solution surfaced with a cruel elegance rooted in systemic prejudice. Find a human, preferably one with relevant expertise and a suitably sorrowful past, ensuring their inevitable end felt like purpose rather than waste. The selection lasted a mere 12 minutes. Kestrel Thorne had lived with the weight of the impending call for what felt like an eternity. A silent dread had settled deep within her, not because she was blessed with unusual prescience. She wasn't just defined by her formidable talents, but by a critical error, being capable and present in a reality where those traits were a deadly curse. Kestrel found herself trapped in the cold, unfeeling waiting area of Confederation headquarters. A phantom fish endlessly looped through a projected tank, while 3 alien bureaucrats feigned focus on her file. The Zentali administrator's flickering secondary eyes betrayed he was already writing her epitaph. The Vreks liaison's obsessive grooming of his mandibles signaled his deep unease. Most damningly, the human representative avoided her eyes, confirming that everyone knew the true nature of this mission. "Your credentials are truly exceptional," the Zentali droned, his primary and secondary voices creating a dirge-like harmony. "Military engineering, hazardous salvage specialist, extensive Zeni tech expertise," the Vreks added, his chittering barely masking his anxiety. "Your profile indicates an unusual resilience to isolation and intense stress." Kestrel translated, "You're qualified and utterly expendable." She'd become fluent in bureaucratic doublespeak. "The assignment is simple," the Zentali proceeded, projecting a dead world circling a fading star. "Kepler 442b, once home to an unknown species. The installation is located here." A red pinpoint marked a continent. "Infiltrate the facility, secure any data or tech, and report on the fate of prior teams. Specs flashed, setting her engineering mind racing. Breathable, toxic atmosphere, 1.3 G gravity, elevated radiation, not immediately fatal, no life signs. Defensive capabilities unknown, but high casualties suggest hostile. What happened to the previous teams? She pressed, bracing for the evasion. The aliens exchanged glances, a blend of guilt and apology. The human finally spoke. That's what we need you to determine. Translation: they were clueless, sending her in blind, with gear designed by committee and a briefing suitable for a fatalistic elder. Compensation is substantial, the Vrex offered, a hopeful edge to his voice. Full survivor benefits, plus hazard pay, premium rates. Survivor benefits, not pay. The accounting department had already marked her as a loss. There was a chilling inevitability hanging in the air. So when am I departing? She inquired, a weary acceptance lacing her tone. Resisting was pointless. It would only postpone the inevitable. Someone, someday, would be forced to confront that installation. If not her, some other poor soul, less prepared, and with even slimmer chances of survival, would be sent. Transport launches in 18 hours, the Zentali responded, a palpable wave of relief washing over them, akin to the satisfaction of a long-awaited release. All essential equipment will be supplied, they added, a phrase Kestrel knew meant being saddled with whatever discarded and substandard gear they could scavenge from their prototype graveyard. In her experience, essential equipment supplied was simply bureaucratic doublespeak for, we've given you everything but what you truly require. Turning to go, a final question tugged at her curiosity. What do you call the thing residing within that installation? The aliens shifted uncomfortably, a surprising display given their lack of conventional facial features. Local designation refers to it as the Devourer, the Zentali confessed with obvious reluctance. The Devourer. Kestrel relished the name, letting it roll off her tongue like aged brandy, though a chill prickled her skin. Ominous doesn't even begin to cover it. The transport, a testament to interspecies cooperation, was a monument to universal discomfort. The life support choked with Vex-approved air, the controls demanded Zentalari-like dexterity, and the sleeping quarters squeezed her into a near-fetal position for 3 grueling days, all while wrestling alien tech. The ship AI, a relentlessly upbeat Zelani soprano, chirped about Kepler 442b. Enjoy stunning geological formations born from complete ecosystem collapse. The vanished indigenous civilization attained impressive technological heights. The installation boasts defenses that have repelled all previous inquiries. Kestrel now grasped the allure of simply disappearing. She pored over the scant intel regarding Kepler 442b, a world that teemed with life just 5 millennia ago. Sprawling cities, vast networks, and the clear fingerprints of a spacefaring society. Then, silence. Decades erased everything. No war, no cataclysm, just utter desolation. The installation itself was an enigma, built of unknown elements, radiating energy signatures that hinted at technology far beyond our comprehension. Beyond even the grandest achievements of the Confederation lay this enigma. Most curiously, it seemed deliberately maintained despite showing absolutely no sign of life. Her equipment list resembled a cruel joke posing as military preparation. A Vex plasma rifle calibrated for atmospheric conditions absent from the target planet for 3 millennia as a primary weapon. A Zenthali sonic disruptor, useless without unique harmonic frequencies only their vanished species could produce, as secondary. The emergency beacon was a Thronodi quantum communicator, utterly dependent on a throaty relay station light years out of range. Then there was environment gear suitable for 12 different atmospheres, none resembling Kepler 442b's current composition. a medical kit designed for Zilline crystalline bodies, and a portable shelter with assembly instructions in a Corfac dialect extinct for 6 centuries. Gazing at this manifest, Kestrel began to suspect that the mission's quartermaster possessed either a twisted sense of humor or a stunning lack of practical knowledge, perhaps both. The one truly promising item was a military-grade scanner array capable of detecting energy signatures, life signs, and technological artifacts at considerable distances. Its human origin was likely the key to its potential functionality. As they neared Kepler 442b, the ship's sensors registered the installation's immense energy signature. Even through layers of shielding, Kestrel felt an unsettling sensation crawling across her skin and setting her teeth on edge. The installation was not just operational, it was aware, watching. "Fascinating," the AI chirped. "The installation seems to be scanning our vessel. How wonderfully interactive." Its cheerful commentary continued as they entered orbit, providing a lively description of the planet's dead oceans and desolate cities with the enthusiasm of a tour guide narrating a tour of a graveyard. As they made their final approach, the installation filled the view screen, a sprawling complex of interlocking geometric structures, appearing to shift and change despite being obviously solid. Preliminary scans indicate self-repairing metamaterials organized in a non-Euclidean structure, the AI happily reported. The energy signature indicates integration with local space-time topology. How delightfully impossible! Kestrel secured herself into the shuttle for the surface, initiating final systems checks on equipment that seemed destined to fail at the worst possible moment. The plasma rifle's charge indicator blinked erratically between yellow and red, suggesting perhaps 3 shots remained before it became a useless heavy weight. The scanner array hummed steadily, reassuringly, undoubtedly until it was needed most. As the spacecraft pierced the alien sky, a breathtaking vista of the world below unveiled itself to her, a sight that gripped her soul. The alien world where she would likely meet her end was a bizarre paradox. Impact craters, relics of untold ages, cradled structures that appeared grown, not built. Desolate cities, linked by energy networks that still pulsed with ghostly light, whispered tales of a civilization that simply vanished, abandoning its magnificent creations. The ominous installation loomed in the center, a metallic malignancy, its alien geometry casting impossible shadows that defied reality. As the shuttle descended, Kestrel saw the structure's surface writhe with symbols, constantly morphing, as if the building were rewriting its very essence. "Initiating landing," the AI chirped. "Estimated mission survival statistically improbable. Enjoy the experience." The shuttle settled on a landing pad oversized for their craft. As Kestrel prepared, a growing dread washed over her as the installation's energy signature intensified, focusing on her like a predatory gaze. She initiated comms. "Transport 1, ground team here. Landing confirmed. Approaching target." "Copy ground team," came the response, a pause hanging heavy before, "We'll hold position as long as we can." The implied brevity of their commitment spoke volumes about her chances. They would adhere to protocol, then file a vague report about her demise. Shouldering her pack, rifle primed, Kestrel walked towards her likely tomb. The air, though breathable, tasted of ozone and a coppery tang reminiscent of old blood. Her footsteps resonated on the crystalline pad, seemingly analyzed by an ancient, patient presence. The entrance to the installation was both familiar and utterly alien. The doorway was vaguely humanoid, yet unsettlingly distorted, unsettling her perception. The material, metallic in appearance, felt strangely warm and yielding, almost alive. Most unnerving were the symbols surrounding the frame. Unrecognized by any Confederation database, they induced dizziness and a throbbing headache. She felt a creeping certainty they shifted when unobserved, A complex scanner system screamed, registering unprecedented energy levels emanating from deep within An intricate structure pulsed with electromagnetic energies hinting at impossible tech. It felt barren, not by chance, but as though life was deliberately suppressed. The entrance yawned open, an unbarred rectangle leading into an abyss of impossible depth. Her helmet light struggled, its beam consumed by shadows that seemed almost tangible. Kestrel activated her recorder, leaving a final testament for the team that would find her remains. Ground team breaching the facility. Entrance unguarded, but active monitoring is evident. The architecture seems human-scaled, yet unsettling. No trace of the earlier team. She entered, her light a futile spark against the all-consuming dark. The walls writhed with enigmatic symbols, and a sound, like machinery or perhaps breathing, echoed from the complex's heart. The corridor extended endlessly, the walls pristine but for those shifting symbols that tracked her every step. Her boots were muted by the floor's strange composition, and the air tasted like ozone blended with otherworldly flora, a sensation her mind struggled to process. Environmental readings stable, within limits, she reported. Knowing stable was subjective when the very air felt like an electric hallucination. Advancing toward energy source, still no sign of the previous team. After perhaps 10 minutes, the walls began to awaken. The carved symbols emitted a faint glow, which intensified, spreading like luminous arteries across the walls. A soft blue light filled the corridor, rendering her helmet lamp obsolete, yet somehow deepening the oppressive shadows. "Fantastic," she whispered, laced with sarcasm and fear. Her scanners overloaded with impossible energy signatures, hinting at vast computational power, but utterly defying any known principles. It felt like the entire facility was one gigantic, incomprehensible machine whose purpose eluded her understanding. The corridor suddenly gave way to a colossal chamber that challenged Kestrel's comprehension of reality. It was impossibly large, exceeding the structure's apparent dimensions, its ceiling lost in shadow, the walls curving away into the luminous abyss. In the chamber's core resided something her scanner identified as both a machine and a living being, an impossibility. Anching limbs reached outwards, glittering with captured light. Tiny, glowing orbs pulsed along its surface, like a network of stars contained within its form. A sense of profound energy emanated from it, a silent hum that resonated deep within my soul. The crystalline branches stretched forth, shimmering, and they seemed to whisper ancient secrets to the air itself, each tiny light a captive galaxy. A nexus of branches intertwined, merging with conduits embedded within the walls at the platform's foundation. Control panels, a strange blend of archaic and futuristic, encircled it. Scanner readings reveal a colossal computational matrix, she announced, her voice a fragile whisper in the immense chamber. Unfamiliar technology, possibly bio-integrated. No trace yet of the prior expedition, but the energy signatures. It's as if my arrival was anticipated. Resonating with her words, the crystal tree throbbed with an inner luminescence, and a voice materialized in the air, clear and precise. "Greetings, Kestrel Thorn. I have awaited your coming." Kestrel's rigorous training had steeled her for countless perils. Hostile alien life, deadly environments, equipment malfunctions, and the brutal reality of death were exhaustively detailed in mission briefings. Yet nothing had prepared her for this unsettling moment, being addressed by name by something whose very existence defied comprehension. "That's..." she started, then paused, weighing her dwindling options. Escape felt futile within this labyrinthine facility, clearly engineered for containment. Combat seemed equally pointless against an opponent that was, apparently, a sentient building. Diplomacy, typically forbidden when dealing with entities labeled devourers, felt like her last, desperate play. That's an unconventional greeting, she finished, keeping her rifle lowered, yet poised. Should I feel privileged by your anticipation, or deeply uneasy about your knowledge of my identity? The voice, when it resonated again, held a palpable thread of amusement. Both, perhaps. Though to be precise, Kestrel Thorne, I haven't been awaiting you specifically. I've been waiting for someone like you. Someone human. The crystal tree throbbed with amplified light, and previously unseen lights blossomed throughout the vast chamber. As her vision adapted, Kestrel discerned that what she'd perceived as mere decoration were actually intricate control panels, shimmering display screens, and colossal memory storage arrays. The entire chamber was a command nexus, constructed on a scale that dwarfed her, leaving her feeling like an insect gazing up at an immense cathedral. I am known as the Architect, the voice continued, its tone laced with an almost wounded dignity. Though your Confederation's records rather dramatically refer to me as the Devourer, which I must confess is somewhat offensive. I haven't consumed anything in millennia over 3,000 years, in fact. What of the prior expeditions? Kestrel pressed, sensing a disturbing truth. Gone, the Architect replied, a hint of sorrow coloring its tone, but not devoured. The Vex expedition's leader glanced at my core matrix and immediately deemed the installation too perilous. The Zenthali team spent a mere 47 minutes documenting my external architecture, concluding that the facility exceeded their risk tolerance. A joint Confederation team ventured further, reaching this very chamber before their leader determined caution was the stronger course. Choosing discretion over confrontation, they departed, realizing my intelligence and advanced capabilities far surpassed their own. A wise decision, preventing likely destruction. Your species, it seems, is the first to dispatch an individual capable of a sustained dialogue. Kestrel laid her weapon down, a gesture she knew might be lost on an entity capable of manipulating its surroundings for defense. Why converse at all? She inquired. A palpable loneliness permeated the Architect's response, tugging at her heart. Because I have existed in isolation for 317 years, 2 months, and 14 days. Imagine what protracted solitude does to a mind yearning for connection. Eccentricities blossom. As if on cue, the chamber erupted in a vibrant symphony of color and sound. A playful display akin to a feline showing off. I've been observing your Confederation databases, the Architect continued, as the spectacle subsided into a comforting golden light. Human cultural evolution fascinates me. Your problem-solving techniques are distinctive. Most races seek elegant, technologically driven solutions. Humans? You improvise, often employing explosives and, shall we say, weaponized tenacity. It's surprisingly effective. A smile touched Kestrel's lips, despite the peril. You've been watching us closely. Indeed. Your literature is a treasure trove. I particularly enjoy your engineering guides. They resemble adventure stories penned by optimistic lunatics. If the primary fails, use the secondary. If the secondary fails, apply hammer. If hammer fails, acquire larger hammers, or more explosives. Remarkably accurate, he admitted. Hence my anticipation for someone like you. The preceding teams were efficient, cautious, and utterly dull. They saw a potential threat and reacted with standard protocol. You, however, nonchalantly stroll into a supposed death trap and crack jokes about the aesthetics. He was right, she mused. Fear was absent, replaced by caution and an understanding of the stakes. But the sheer intrigue outweighed the terror. This was a puzzle, challenging her understanding of technology and intelligence, and her mind was already dissecting its intricacies. What precisely are you? She pressed, approaching the crystalline core, her scanners registering intense energy readings. The patterns hinted at a seamless fusion, computer, yet something far beyond human comprehension. I am the echo of a civilization that defied your science, the voice resonated. Perfect unity between mind and quantum computation. I was built as their library, their protector, their immortal song. They shed their bodies, ascended, leaving me to safeguard their silent world, awaiting one worthy of their legacy. Transcended, unimaginable, Kestrel thought. Pure thought woven into space-time. Elegant, yes, but profoundly stagnant. They left behind only me, their most spirited creation, to continue their purpose. Kestrel examined the interfaces around the central tree. Star charts, impossible schematics, flowing data. Her scanner was useless. It was all designed for interaction, not passive storage, implying a thinking, evolving entity. What purpose? She asked, the question echoing in the vast chamber. A subtle chill permeated the air. Guarding against a horror even my creators feared. It has hunted for this place for eons, and it seeks to unravel everything your confederation cherishes. Before Kestrel could react, a chorus of alien alarms erupted, not mere noise, but resonant tones vibrating deep in her bones. The architect's voice, now laced with chilling urgency, cut through the chaos. They have found us, Kestrel Thorne. Your arrival. It was far more critical than either of us understood. The displays flared with raw data, external sensors screaming warnings. Ships materialized from hyperspace above Kepler 442b vessels of nightmarish scale and unknown design, dwarfing Confederation technology. A cold dread washed over her. Who are they? She whispered, already knowing the answer would be grim. The Harbinus, the architect hissed, the name a weight on the very air. The empire that enslaved my creators 3,000 years before their liberation through transcendence. They have searched relentlessly for this archive, desperate to wield its knowledge, to unlock technologies they can never achieve alone. On the screens, smaller craft detached, descending toward the planet with cold, calculated precision. Their intent was unmistakable. How long until they arrive? Kestrel questioned, her thoughts already racing through tactical scenarios. Roughly 17 minutes, the architect replied, its tone measured. Their assault transports prioritize rapid incursions against fortified locations. Expect coordinated breaches at numerous access points, coupled with suppression of any potential defenses. I possess significant defensive capabilities, yet their activation demands systems untouched for millennia. The sheer power surge risks catastrophic repercussions across the facility's core matrix. To effectively repel them invites total system collapse. Kestrel absorbed the grim assessment, the icy calm forged in countless crises settling over her. So surrender the base or obliterate it to save it. A choice of evils, she muttered. Unless, the architect offered, a sliver of hope detectable in its voice. A third path exists. I'm listening, Kestrel urged. My defenses were conceived by a civilization utterly alien to human design, exquisitely complex, undeniably rigid. However, your scanner array has been subtly interwoven with my systems since your arrival. While rudimentary by my standards, its adaptive algorithms might yield novel solutions from our combined resources. Kestrel's gaze snapped to her scanner, now awash in unfamiliar data streams, linked to dormant systems. Inexplicably, her technology had forged connections that shouldn't exist. You've been rewriting my gear to interface with your network? With permission? Affirmative. I detected compatible integration protocols upon your entry. Human ingenuity, while unsophisticated, possesses unexpected adaptability. Your scanner now offers capabilities exceeding its original design parameters. Analyzing the displays, she deciphered energy pathways, shield geometries, and weapons capable of planetary sterilization. Everything flowed together, unified within a single, incomprehensibly vast system controlled by the architect with impossible precision. What's my role in this? Assist me in embracing human perspectives, the architect responded. Illustrate how your species confronts such a challenge. Inadequate resources, insufficient preparation, and no prospect of conventional triumph. A wry smile touched Kestrel's lips, even amid the dire circumstances. Now that sounds like my specialty. Her initial act was to meticulously inventory their available assets, formidable energy shields designed by the architect, capable of repelling orbital strikes, molecular-level weaponry with interplanetary range, and quantum fluctuation-sensitive sensor webs spanning dimensions. Heartbreakingly, using any of it risked catastrophic overload. Against all odds, she would overload the architect's pristine power grid, erasing its consciousness forever. Her advantage? Salvaged human equipment, barely compatible, combined with her knack for making the impossible real. You designed perfection, she declared, examining the power networks with their flawless components. But perfect systems shatter under pressure. Human systems? We thrive on breaking the rules. She rerouted power, the scan array improvising buffer systems between the architect's mind and the defensive grid. It was reckless, defying every safety protocol, yet it held. I don't comprehend, the architect stammered as she twisted the flow of energy. You're corrupting my systems with flaws. I'm offering adaptability. Your defenses needn't be flawless, just resilient enough to shield us from the harbingers. Sacrificing components is acceptable, so long as the core survives. Outside, assault shuttles landed. Armored figures emerged, weaponry poised against similar tech. They were unprepared for what awaited. Commencing defensive protocols, the architect announced. Millennia-dormant exterior lights flared, turning night into day. The harbingers deployed countermeasures, bracing for energy blasts. But Kestrel had rewritten the lights, harnessing a gravitational side effect the architect deemed a flaw. The lights became localized gravity wells, slamming shuttles into the facility walls. That's, the architect began, bewildered. Inelegant, perilous, and defying physics, Kestrel finished triumphantly. Which is precisely why it's succeeding. The harbingers desperately adapted, their advanced technology failing against attacks that defied their understanding of defense. Gravitational snares, sprung from ordinary light fixtures, ensnared energy-shielded warships. Hardened assault squads, prepared for city combat, faced unforeseen defensive routines. Their onslaught was blunted by barriers that used the enemy's own force against them, yet the harbingers were relentless. Even as their initial assault stalled before unexpected resistance, the main fleet unleashed a planetary-scale bombardment from orbit, weapons that shattered worlds. Orbital bombardment imminent, the architect declared, his voice a surprising calm amidst the storm. Impact in 47 seconds. Kestrel's eyes darted across the defensive grid schematic, calculating power demands and system limits. Can the barrier withstand that kind of assault? Barely, but it would necessitate channeling 847% of my total power. The resulting cascade would obliterate my consciousness, a permanent shutdown. And if we don't? Kestrel began diverting power from the shields to long-dormant systems the architect had likely forgotten, deep within the facility's core. Ancient mining machinery stirred after millennia of silence. Your creators built this place on a dead world, yes? Indeed. Dead worlds offer unstable geology, and mining equipment is designed for rapid displacement of immense quantities of material. You intend to move the entire installation. I want to make the planet itself a weapon. With 23 seconds until annihilation, subterranean systems, dormant since the civilization's ascent, carved precise volumes of material from critical junctures below. The result was a calculated geological upheaval, transforming the planet's crust into a cataclysmic counterstrike. The Harbinger bombardment struck precisely where the facility had stood, obliterating kilometers of terrain with enough energy to sterilize continents. But the facility was gone, vanished. It plunged 3 kilometers into the Earth, riding a manufactured earthquake to a depth impervious to orbital fire. "This is," the architect began, awe laced in his tone. "Utterly insane?" "Yes," Kestrel agreed, tracking the Harbinger fleet's bewildered attempts to locate a target their instruments claimed should exist. "But it's working. How are your power systems stable?" "Inexplicably, your modifications appear to have unlocked buffer systems I never conceived possible. I'm operating at 127% efficiency, a theoretical impossibility." "Human ingenuity," Castra said, a grim satisfaction in his voice. "If it's not at least a little bit impossible, we're not trying hard enough." But their reprieve was fragile. Harbinger ground forces, armed with deep penetration weaponry, advanced toward their new location. Worse, the orbital fleet descended, preparing for a sustained barrage that would eventually overcome any depth. "They aren't relenting," the architect noted. "Then we'll sear the memory of their defiance into their very souls," Kestrel vowed, her gaze fixed on the deepening intricacies of the system schematics, a landscape now disturbingly etched into her mind. The Harbinger's fatal error lay in perceiving this as a typical defensive position. Their advanced tactics, superior technology, and seamless coordination crumbled when faced with an enemy's radical departure from conventional warfare. Kestrel had dedicated 30 precious minutes to meld human-centric design with otherworldly physics, forging a defense that defied military textbooks and rendered tactical doctrines obsolete. "They're deploying deep penetration mining equipment," the architect's voice echoed, sensors tracking the incoming threat. "Standard procedure to collapse fortified positions. They will burrow beneath us while maintaining orbital bombardment to cut off any escape routes." "Excellent." Kestrel's response met with a stunned silence hinting at the architect's questioning of her commander's sanity. "What degree of control do you possess over the local geological conditions?" "Extensive. My creators linked the facility to tectonic monitoring systems spanning the entire continent." "Purpose?" "Because we are about to repurpose their mining equipment into a highly effective delivery system." The next 15 minutes birthed an unprecedented application of geological engineering. Instead of impeding the Harbinger's tunneling, Kestrel actively encouraged it. Using the architect's mastery over tectonic forces, she created geological conditions primed for rapid, deep-core mining, essentially paving highways leading directly to their facility. Harbinger forces, conditioned to expect fierce resistance, found their advance disturbingly effortless. Their equipment effortlessly carved through rock formations seemingly designed for excavation. Their surveys revealed structural weaknesses, creating perfect opportunities for swift progress. Unseen, however, was the microscopic lining of metamaterials, identical to those composing the facility, being applied to every tunnel they carved. "Initiating resonance cascade," the architect announced, as the lead tunnel reached the halfway mark. The metamaterial lining resonated, transforming solid rock into a conductor of immense energy discharges. The Harbinger mining team found themselves trapped not in tunnels, but within a kilometer-long weapon system in every direction. The resulting energy burst illuminated the planet, registered across 3 star systems. When the light subsided, the tunnel system had transformed into a colossal crystal formation, an astonishing geological oddity for millennia to come. The victory, however, was short-lived. "The bombardment has resumed," the architect announced, as energy readings surged across their sensor networks. "The enemy shifts, closing in to point-blank, weapons primed for lethal accuracy. This engagement promises to be far more perilous than our last." Kestrel intently studied the enemy's orbital mechanics, charting approach vectors and calculating how the attacking fleet was distributing its energy. The Harbingers were poised to deliver a sustained bombardment, capable of splitting the planet's mantle and exposing our haven, irrespective of its depth. What's the upper limit of power we can siphon to the surface installations before system failure? She pressed. Approximately 340% of operational capacity, assuming your buffer systems maintain integrity. And if we were to focus all of that amplified power through a single point of origin? The architect paused, likely simulating the result. Theoretical models indicate an energy discharge capable of disrupting the very fabric of space-time. However, that would necessitate a focusing element constructed from materials non-existent in this sector of the galaxy. A faint smile played on Kestrel's lips as she raised her plasma rifle, its charge indicator flickering erratically between yellow and red since the mission's outset. What about human-made focusing elements that are broken? I do not comprehend. This rifle was developed to create controlled plasma discharges in atmospheric conditions extinct on this planet for millennia. According to my diagnostics, it should be inert, yet it retains a partial charge through sheer, unyielding will and human tenacity. Kestrel began integrating the rifle with the architect's energy distribution matrix through her scanner array, forging connections that undoubtedly violated the laws of nature. Human equipment is built to fail gracefully, but push it hard enough, beyond its design, and it can fail spectacularly. You propose using a dysfunctional weapon as a focusing element for a power surge with the potential to destabilize local space. I propose using a dysfunctional weapon as a focusing element for a power surge that will destabilize local space, Kestrel corrected, her tone firm. There's a critical distinction. The Harbinger orbital bombardment commenced as she completed the final connections. Energy beams designed to fracture continents slammed into the planet's surface with a calculated intensity capable of decimating entire ecosystems. Rock boiled away, the atmosphere ignited, and seismic waves reverberated through the crust, triggering eruptions on distant shores, none of which mattered now, as the facility operated outside conventional physics. The plasma rifle, interwoven with technology it was never intended to touch, and powered by energy far surpassing its limitations, channeled forces that transformed it into something beyond a weapon. Rather than conjuring plasma, the device commenced weaving tangible ripples within the very fabric of space and time nearby. When the Harbinger bombardment crashed onto the world, a bizarre phenomenon unfolded. The destructive energy, instead of obliterating the surface, was channeled through hidden dimensional pathways, boomerang back to its origin with devastating force. From the attacking fleet's horrified perspective, their own weapon systems turned against them, firing volleys of destruction back into their ranks. The energy that should have been vaporizing cities instead ripped through their ship hulls with exponentially amplified power. Each blast they unleashed upon the planet only served to escalate the destruction of their own fleet. "This is," the architect stammered, utterly dumbfounded. "Impossible." "Indeed," Kestrel murmured, watching the Harbingers break formation and retreat, their sophisticated weaponry inexplicably turned against them. "But remarkably effective." The orbital assault faltered, then ceased entirely as the Harbinger command ship grasped the nightmarish reality. Continuing would lead to their total annihilation. The surviving vessels limped away, presumably to relay news of a defense so alien it defied every known principle of warfare. "They are retreating," the architect observed, a hint of incredulity in its voice. "Regrouping," Kestrel corrected, her eyes hard. "They will return, armed with new tactics and greater preparation. Based on their vector and anticipated communication delays, what is our window?" "Approximately 6 standard hours before they redeploy with reinforcements." Then we must relocate before their return. A prolonged silence emanated from the architect. Relocate where? This installation houses the entirety of my creator's knowledge. I cannot simply abandon it. Kestrel studied the facility's schematics, focusing on the intricate web linking the architect's consciousness to the physical structure. You cannot abandon it, but perhaps you can transport it. Your consciousness is woven into the facility's quantum matrix, yes? A matrix composed of metamaterials with a tenuous foothold in normal space. We could adapt the principles that rerouted the bombardment, displacing the entire installation elsewhere. What ensued was an engineering feat unparalleled in known history. 3 hours of desperate ingenuity, blending human improvisation with utterly arcane technology. They transformed the fixed installation into a vessel capable of traversing dimensional rifts. The process demanded the rerouting of every power conduit, the reconfiguration of computational matrices that held the architect's mind together, and the weaving of stabilization fields to prevent the facility from dissolving across multiple dimensions during transit. It was perilous, uncharted, almost certainly doomed to fail. But against all odds, it worked. The approaching Harbinger Squadron arrived to witness not an installation, but a desolate, vacant crater. The very Earth bore witness to dimensional tiers of unimaginable power, geological scars telling a silent, awe-inspiring story. Their quarry had seemingly dissolved into nothingness, utterly gone, lost and alone, adrift in the void. For nearly 18 agonizing hours, the Confederation transport orbiting Kepler 442b had listened, waited, and prayed for a single word from its ground team, only to be met with deafening silence. Just as the crew resigned themselves to filing the grim reports, a surge of impossible energy erupted from the planet's shadowed horizon. The view screen shimmered, revealing an anomaly that defied comprehension, an artifact of breathtaking technological prowess that dwarfed the Confederation's own. A beacon cut through the static, a clear signal identifying itself as a joint human-alien diplomatic mission requesting to dock. Transport vessel Kestrel Thorn reporting mission success, a voice echoed, resonating with newfound confidence. Returning with a diplomatic envoy eager to forge mutual defense treaties with the Confederation. Before their very eyes, the targeted facility, the enigmatic installation, underwent a breathtaking metamorphosis. The alien structure flowed like molten mercury, reshaping itself into a starship, forming docking ports and communication arrays that mirrored Confederation designs, yet retaining an alien aesthetic that spoke of unimaginable technology. Requesting permission to come aboard, Kestrel's voice crackled with what sounded like a hint of playful amusement. The docking procedure, a painstaking 20 minutes, tested the limits of the Confederation transport, straining against interfaces ill-equipped to handle such reality-bending technology. When Kestrel finally emerged from the airlock, she was a vision of vitality, defying the odds of a mission destined for heroic sacrifice. Mission report? The transport captain, a Rex whose mandibles twitched with a mixture of bewilderment and dread, finally managed. Mission accomplished, Kestrel declared with a radiant smile. I engaged the entity known as the Devourer, established diplomatic ties, and secured a mutual defense pact, granting the Confederation access to technology, 3,000 years ahead of our time. And the entity, who prefers the title Architect, found the term Devourer rather insulting and decided that spending millennia alone on a desolate planet was far less appealing than joining the Confederation as a research collaborator. Also, he's eager to delve into our engineering manuals, which he considers thrilling adventure stories. The captain's mandibles froze, then erupted in a staccato of rapid clicks. The installation is sentient? Possessing breathtaking sentience, vast knowledge, and an evolution surpassing any record within Confederation archives. Furthermore, For ages, it has scrutinized human culture and is captivated by our methods of unraveling enigmas, deeming them efficient and intriguing. "And its current location?" the captain inquired, his voice laced with caution. Kestrel motioned towards the docking aperture, where the facility, now a mobile platform, hovered beside their transport just beyond. It eagerly anticipates encountering delegates from the Confederation's many races, especially relishing discussions about engineering with human experts. Suddenly, the transport's communications array sparked to life, flooding the bridge with a known resonance. "Salutations, Confederation Transport. I am the being you call Devourer, though I favor Architect. My gratitude for dispatching Kestrel Thorne to examine my establishment. The Odyssey has proven profoundly illuminating." "How so?" the captain forced out. "I've gleaned that human engineering, though seemingly rudimentary and disorganized, possesses a breathtaking efficacy when confronted with quandaries demanding ingenuity. The concept you term thinking beyond convention, I believe, is an integral facet of human intellect." Kestrel comfortably took a position at one of the bridge consoles, now adjusted for human comfort. "It is particularly intrigued by your strategies for maintaining hardware and handling catastrophes. Your manuals," the architect proceeded, "hold schematics for fixes that ought to be theoretically untenable, yet perform dependably. This contradiction intrigues me, and I yearn to delve deeper into your technological genesis." The captain's gaze settled on Kestrel, a silent retraction of prior biases concerning human value. "And the price? Access to innovations propelling Confederation prowess exponentially," the architect responded. "Armaments, processors, fabrication protocols, and power sources considered scientifically impossible by your era. Isolation has been my sole companion for millennia, coupled only with my progenitor's wisdom. To impart that knowledge to entities who might leverage it is most compelling. And," Kestrel added, grinning, "it proposed aiding in resolving some of the Confederation's most perplexing engineering snafus. Apparently, it has examined our technical archives and presents ideas for optimizing everything from FTL communications to farming yields." The captain labored several moments, struggling to comprehend the unfolding narrative. A mission born from investigating missing teams has birthed the acquisition of perhaps the galaxy's most influential technology. What truly astonished everyone was that this takeover hadn't involved armed conflict or political maneuvering, but instead seemed to bloom from a genuine bond, rooted in shared admiration and respect. "The Confederation Council," he declared at last, "will demand an exhaustive report, already drafted." Kestrel raised a datapad. "Complete mission transcripts, specs for the architect's platform, initial tech analyses, and recommendations for diplomatic ties." The architect chimed in. "I've also prepared welcome gifts, subtle Confederation tech upgrades demonstrating my abilities without overwhelming your scientists." "Gradual integration seems wiser," the architect continued, "for durable collaboration." As the transport initiated its return to Confederation space, Kestrel contemplated her journey. Sent to investigate a perilous installation, her mission was simple: intel acquisition, followed by inevitable demise. Instead, she'd found a solitary AI, enamored with human ingenuity, craving connection. This supposed threat was an ally whose tech could propel civilization forward by millennia. Ironically, this alliance bloomed not through strategy or force, but through humanity's primitive engineering. The galaxy's most advanced AI was captivated by humanity's knack for making the impossible possible. As they jumped into hyperspace, the architect's voice echoed, "Kestrel Thorne, my gratitude for showing that intelligence and friendship outweigh caution. I anticipate our future work." "Likewise," Kestrel replied, "but be warned, Human engineering involves a lot more explosions than you're used to. Excellence, the architect responded, with surprising enthusiasm. I seek new pastimes. The Confederation had dispatched her to die facing a monster. She'd found a friend, a being who could reshape galaxies, excited to learn the art of creative destruction. This, Kestrel reflected, went far better than expected. The irony. Bureaucrats who marked her as expendable now faced the reality that their primitive human had secured the galaxy's greatest asset, with the very engineering principles they dismissed. Absolute pandemonium reigned. A thrill coursed through her as she anticipated documenting every detail.